Well, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you may be joining from us around the world. Welcome to the latest webinar from OpTek, titled Cutting Edge Precision, the latest breakthroughs in laser micromachining for medical and aerospace sectors. Just a quick note before we begin, today's session is being recorded. There will be time for question and answers at the end, but you can submit your questions at any point during the presentation using the question box at the top right corner of your screen. We'll gather all of those and address as many as we can in the final segment. My name is Alan Coleman. I'll be your host for today's event. I am the QSHE Director and UK Site Lead here at OpTek. My background is in the semiconductor industry, both in the UK and internationally, where I focused on engineering management, sales and commercial development, and more recently served as QSHE Director at a hand tracking and haptics company operating out of Bristol and San Francisco. Before we go into today's topic, let me give you a brief overview of OpTek, who we are and what we do. OpTek is a global provider of precision laser processing solutions. Our headquarters are in Abingdon, Oxfordshire, and we operate internationally with offices in Greenville, South Carolina, Boston, and Dongguan, China. We develop and deliver custom laser-based processes and systems to machine an extraordinary range of materials, from ceramics and polymers to delicate organics. If it exists, there's a good chance we can machine it. We work across the full life cycle of laser processing, offering on-site services and transitioning customers from R&D and prototyping to full production systems. We often work on sub-300 micron features and provide a clear path from process development to bespoke automated systems. These range from compact desktop units to multi-ton, multi-laser 5-axis platforms, the largest of which weighs 7 tons and operates with sub-micron precision. Being part of the Humanetics Group allows us to take on long-term, high-impact projects. We're also proud to hold certifications including ISO 9001, 14001, and are in our UK and China facilities, ISO 13485 for medical applications, underscoring our commitment to quality and sustainability. Today, we're diving into laser micromachining for medical and aerospace applications, two highly regulated sectors in which OpTek has a deep experience, both in providing turnkey systems and in direct part processing. I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker, my colleague Chris Randon, OpTek's Business Development Manager. Chris will walk you through some of our most exciting advances and case studies in this space, and I'll rejoin you at the end for the question and answer session. So, without further ado, over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Alan. Welcome to our presentation on cutting-edge precision. We will start by discussing trends we are seeing in the market, then follow on with some case studies, first in biomedical applications, following to aerospace. Topics covered are fiber lasers, ultrafast lasers, high power lasers, 5-axis galvos, multi-beamlet delivery, adaptive optics, infinite field of view, vision with artificial intelligence, automation, and Industry 4. We'll start with fiber lasers. These continue to dominate the market, mainly through marking applications. The fiber laser offering is under continuous growth. Most of these lasers operate in the nanosecond regime. Here we need to know how the radiation is absorbed into the material, so when making an assessment on which laser is suitable to process the material, we start by looking at graphs like this shown. By offering different wavelengths, the material's interaction can be improved, in some cases increasing speed, and in others improving quality. The market is demanding higher power lasers, so parts can be processed quicker and cheaper. This is driving the need for higher speed galvos and parallel processing methods. Shorter pulses lead to the possibility of non-thermal processing and is covered in the next slide. In a fiber laser, the laser gain medium is a length of optical fiber rather than a crystal. Fiber lasers require little to no maintenance. They have higher reliability than other laser types, such as DPSS or lamp pump systems. Ultrafast lasers. When ultrafast lasers interact with the target material, the result is non-thermal absorption of energy. This is possible because ultrafast pulse durations are shorter than the characteristic time of vibrational relaxation in the material, allowing energy to be deposited faster than it's dissipated. This cold process removes or alters materials with virtually no heat transfer to the surrounding area, dramatically reducing melt and recast material, as well as microcracks. The resulting surface quality is higher than what is possible with nanosecond lasers due to significant reduction in the heat-affected zone, debris, and surface damage. So what does this really mean? If we take a typical 20 nanosecond fiber laser pulse and a 350 femtosecond ultra-short pulse laser, we can fit approximately 57,000 pulses of the ultra-short into the nanosecond. This is of course not the whole story, because if we do this, we start to put heat into the part, giving no benefit of the ultra-short pulse. If we move the beam quickly and apply a burst of pulses, we can improve material removal and reduce thermal effects. Higher power. One thing universal from all our customers is wanting to process parts as fast and as cheaply as possible. Most of our work is done with pulse lasers. Here, the pulse energy is what controls the process. If we can speed up how fast we can deliver the pulses, we can speed up the process. This will increase the average power of the laser. If we can double the average power, we can run twice as fast, but the laser doesn't normally cost twice as much. As a note of caution to what I've just said, micromachining is all about the process. You need to check other elements in the system can work at twice the speed. You also need to check that you've not changed the material interaction by going twice as fast. 5-axis galvo. 5-axis galvos have been around for many years, but are now becoming mainstream for laser processing. That is, micromachining, hole drilling, and laser structuring. This can also be used to create intricate shapes, undercuts, and sophisticated geometries. In the example shown, we're drilling probe cards for the testing of electronics. Here, taper can help guide in the pins, and parallel holes keep the pins aligned so they're presented orthogonal to the test article. In the other example shown, we drilled angled holes into a tube that allowed a focused jet of water to a point, allowing the breakup of blood clots caused by deep vein thrombosis. Multi-beamlet. Using diffractive optical elements, more commonly referred to as a DOE, allows creation of multiple beamlets. This allows parallel processing of features, for example, riblets on control surfaces to reduce drag, or in the case of drilling 25 holes at once. This, when combined with higher power lasers, leads to very scalable and cost-efficient processing. Adaptive optics. Adaptive optics have been used in astronomy and microscopy for decades. The use of this technology in laser processing continues to grow. This technology can be used to make multiple beamlets discussed on the previous slide, directly write patterns, remove aberrations, allowing detailed feature processing on transparent materials. This allows processing of some novel geometries and subsurface marking, mainly in anti-counterfeiting. A great example you are probably using today. That is the cutting of phones and display screens, as well as dicing semiconductors. Infinite field of view. Infinite field of view is a widely used technology used to process large areas. Here we combine a galvo, enabling fast beam movement, but a limited field of view with stages to stitch parts together. These implementations take feedback from the galvo encoder and correct the stages to produce perfect parts. We've used this technology to process large mold tools. In the example shown, we pattern a nose mold with a hydrophobic pattern. We are also routinely using this technology to process next-generation solar cells and control surfaces. Vision systems with AI. Laser processing, by its nature, requires line of sight to the workpiece. This has led to OpTek integrating vision into our systems from very early on, capturing data for statistical process control, allowing an increase in yield. AI allows us to build on this more so. In the video shown, we are analysing a square of crystal to determine the maximum area we can process. Prior to the AI implementation, we were only able to process about 70% of parts, as it was difficult to identify the datum growth phase. After implementing AI processing rose to 99% and identified additional features such as crystallographic twinning and cracks, giving the customer far more information about their product. Automation. Automation has always been a feature of OpTek machines, and in recent years the level of automation has increased, a lot of this driven by our use of AI. In the case shown, we are drilling 6-micron holes in a large array or individual parts. Latterly, we have moved from a lab-based system to a production tool. We have integrated post-drill inspection and marking. Capturing this data allows feedback into the customer's MES system to capture yield and supply onward traceability, something that is very important in medical products. One of the benefits of automation is that it can offer lights-out production, something that our customers often use to reduce part cost. Industry 4. Industry 4 is something we've been hearing of since 2011. By definition, laser processing is digital with a lot of data capture driven by the Internet of Things. As you can see from our previous slides, since its inception, OpTek machines have been measuring parts and capturing data to feed in statistical process models. Over the last few years, we further enhanced this offering with AI and vision control modules directly depositing data into MES systems. As well as giving a better picture of how the shop floor is operating, this has also allowed customers to have more focus on continuous improvement. In service, we've seen a move from solely preventative maintenance to predictive maintenance, saving money and increasing uptime. So we've talked about the trends. We'll now move on to some case studies. Black marking. Black marking is a procedure in laser processing which causes extremely dark, high contrast marks on the surface without material ablation. Extremely short pulse cause structures on the surface at the nanometer level. The microstructured surface ensures that the light scattering is reduced and creates marking with constant depth and consistent black color. When the laser pulse used for this marking are ultra short, the color changes also remain corrosion resistant within certain parameter ranges. The reason for this is that the use of the ultra short pulse means that the heat effective zone is extremely small, meaning that enough free chrome remains on the surface that self-healing oxide film can form. In September 2018, the FDA mandated that all reusable medical devices used in hospitals must be marked with a Unique Identification Code, or UDI. This must be permanent, durable, and high contrast. If we slightly adapt the structure written with the short pulse laser, forming what is referred to as a LIPS, or laser-induced periodic surface structure, we can start to see changes to the surface energy of the material. In the example, you can see a standard laser etch pattern and a hydrophilic or water-loving LIPS pattern. Notice how much faster the water wicks across the surface. We are seeing increasing application of such structures on products. As well as hydrophilic patterning, if we adjust the lip structure, we can create a hydrophobic or water shedding pattern. I love this video from Fluence Laser Technology as it shows very well the performance of hydrophobic patterning. In the past, such surfaces were only available with the use of chemical coatings. We're putting this sort of structure onto parts for pharmaceutical lines to improve manufacturing. There is also data to show that such structures can be used to make bacterial shedding surfaces. Once we have a lip structure, we can apply this to a mold and produce a negative which has the same performance. In the example shown, we have used lips along with infinite field of view to put hydrophobic surfaces on drug delivery devices, on water shedding surfaces, on face masks. Deep etching techniques can also be used to develop features causing turbulence and therefore mixing in microfluidic devices. Medical grade cutting. Sometimes we want to achieve is a cut in the device. In the video, you can see a jigsaw cut on a 10mm tube. The system to do this is now installed at St Thomas's Hospital, part of King's College Centre for Manufacture of Active Implants and Surgical Instruments. The system shown takes a CAD model and outputs G-code. That is the code CNC's machines use to produce parts, and this allows the system to produce the required structure. The system is adaptable, allowing processing of tubes and sheets of material, be it metal or ceramic. The same chassis can also be used to weld structures together. We are increasingly seeing a requirement to process tubes. The example shown on the previous slide is on the larger side of what we process. Here we are processing a small helical probe with a 95 micron OD and 80 micron ID. This means the tube has a 7.5 micron wall thickness. To put this into context, a human hair is about 75 microns in diameter. Everything about processing parts such as this is challenging. How do we clamp it? How do you process it without the tube drooping or going out of focus? How do you cut it without damaging the opposing wall? What laser do you use to create a thin parallel cut? How do you handle and inspect the part once processed? What processing is required to meet the customer's specification? As I said, lots of challenges, but this is something our engineering team do day after day in large numbers. Polymer marking. Laser marking of polymers is another area where OpTek have done a lot of work. The need to pattern parts with surface marks that are both readable and have no depth so they do not gather dirt. In the example shown, we use vision to identify the parts and then orientate it. Pattern the part using data from the customer's MES system and then inspect the part to ensure the data written is both human and machine readable, all with as little human intervention as possible. Operating a laser processing machine in a clean room environment presents interesting challenges, as the process view is by nature not something you want to introduce, but is unavoidable. Considering your extraction strategy is an important part of the design process, ensuring the safety of staff in close proximity to the machine and to not contaminate the environment around it. Micro-hole drilling. Drilling is also something OpTek excel at. Drilling the high aspect ratio holes you see here in millions of parts a year, be it oxygen monitors, plugs for drips, flow control devices, probe cards, to name but a few. In the video shown, our machine takes a set of branks that are loaded into a cassette and then onward processed. The machine is designed to only take one design of blank. Once the works order is scanned, the machine locates the material to be processed and then drills and inspects the part, binning it automatically. Because we measure the data, we capture it, allowing analysis for continuous improvement. The system shown here was delivered many years ago and is a great example of Industry 4 in its infancy. Our modern machines are much more sophisticated and integrate more seamlessly into the customer's ecosystem. In the video shown, you can just see we are drilling apart, inspecting absolute hole location, absolute hole size, and then the part will drop to a bin here. And we'll show some process control data captured. Surface roughening. Looking at laser processing at the lowest price per part often leads us to novel solutions. One laser does not always meet all the customer's demands, and short pulse lasers are not always the best solution. Here we need to cut a tube and provide a surface that would allow an epoxy key whilst also marking the part for traceability. Cutting to the required finish can be rapidly achieved using a nanosecond laser, as can surface roughening for good adhesion. Short pulse lasers are required for the best marking. This led us down the route of a single laser with dual seeds. See our presentation at the EPIC website and given at the recent laser show in Munich for more information. Processing of small nitinol tubing using ultra-short pulses is something OpTek have started to do recently. We're also seeing inquiries to cut sheets of this material. Similar processing techniques are required to process bioabsorbable materials and scaffolds. OpTek have supplied a number of systems over the years to cut and process human tissue, for example, freeze-dried placenta. So we've gone over our biomedical case studies. We'll now move on to aerospace. Large area processing. We have been working on systems to process large areas at high speed. In the video shown, we are processing next generation batteries, cutting a pattern across a 600mm web moving at 30 meters per minute. Similar systems are deployed processing films for control surfaces and electronic component attach. Here, the use of digital twins and simulation allows validation of the process before committing the design to build. High-speed drilling. High-speed drilling of high-density, high-aspect ratio holes is important in the aerospace sector. This has roles in filtration, for example, last-chance filters in engine systems, and also next-generation fuel cells and batteries. Drilling the material fast enough to meet price targets while putting in as little heat as practical means we are able to have a part that does not look like a Pringles chip post-process. Micro-grooving. We are seeing the need to actually groove shallow patterns. In the example shown here, we are etching next-generation air bearings, but we've done similar work on turbos and gyroscopes used for navigation systems. OpTek has a long history in the processing of optical fibre. What you can see in the attached video is the removal of metal fatigue from a compressor section of a jet engine, something that traditionally required the engine to be removed and disassembled. Why do I mention the processing in optical fibre? Well, this is what allowed the delivery of the beam through such a small opening, in this case 7mm. If you would like to learn more about this, please see our on-demand webinar on Machining Where Others Can't, Laser Solutions for Combined Spacers. Laser-assisted machining. Aviation has a need to get lighter materials that are stronger. This is accomplished through the application of metal matrix composites. Here, silicon carbide fibers provide extra strength to an aluminium or titanium part. Silicon carbide is an extremely hard ceramic and is not really compatible with conventional machining techniques. If you try to process these MMCs using conventional techniques, you blunt or chip the cutting tool very quickly. Silicon carbide does, however, process very nicely with lasers. In this European project, OpTek have worked with UK partners to overcome this issue by further developing laser-assisted machining, or LAM for short. In the video shown, a laser is run in front of the cutter to allow conventional machining to take place. Not only does this reduce the wear of the cutting tool, but also gives superior finish on the processed part. In this video, you can see a more integrated implementation of the LAM machining process. Here, our laser head is mounted on a robot, allowing process in the direction of travel. In our case, this was integrated onto our 3-axis mill, but with the robot, we could also integrate with a 5-axis mill. In summary, early in the century, laser processing was a solution looking for a problem. Today, lasers are a critical element of volume production. The technology shown will drive more use of lasers and complementary techniques. OpTek have been helping customers to maintain a technology leadership position for 25 years. This is a position we wish to maintain. Let us know your challenges. So why choose us? We're a global organisation with offices in North America, Europe and China. All sites are ISO 9001 accredited, and we are working towards ISO 13485 across all territories. We offer a full development cycle from process development to subcontract manufacture and tool supply. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Chris, for that insightful and engaging presentation. We do have a few questions, so if you've had a chance to grab a glass of water, Chris, to lubricate your voice, I'll move on to the first question. So the first question is how do you decide when to use ultrafast lasers versus nanosecond lasers, especially for delicate components?
By discussing with our customers and understanding what quality is required by cost. If there's a question if nanosecond processing can be used, it's normally a cheaper option. So we do trials and confirm with the customer if it's acceptable.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question is, the work you're doing with titanium silicon carbide composites looks tough. How does the laser actually help with machining something that hard and brittle? Is it more about reducing cutting force or managing heat buildup?
We were only part of the team developing this technology, and yeah, I'm afraid I didn't go too deeply into the process. If we can find out who sent that email in, I can send them a copy of the paper and put you in touch with the people that do understand.
Okay, fantastic. Next question, the AI-based vision system you showed, can it catch really subtle defects like micro cracks or small alignment errors? And does it work in real time or post-processing or after processing?
So yeah, that's easy. In the example shown, yes, we do detect micro cracks. In other systems, we dynamically adjust the laser positioning. Most of the time, the camera is looking ahead, and in the video we showed, the part is analysed before being processed.
Okay, fantastic. Next question is, have you done any work to machine texture the internal bore of tubes?
Yes, we're actually undergoing trials on that at the minute, putting a hydrophobic pan on the inside of tubes.
Brilliant. Another couple of questions in. When you're using multi-beamlet system to drill or scribe multiple features at once, how do you make sure each beam is doing exactly what it should? Is there a risk of uneven power distribution across the array?
There's always going to be a risk of uneven power distribution, even if you've bought good quality beam homogenizers. What we can do is we can use adaptive optics techniques such as spatial light modulators, and we can dynamically correct those issues.
Brilliant. A couple more in. They're coming in quicker than we can answer them at the moment, Chris. So we'll keep going. With the high aspect ratio micro hole drilling in polymers, how do you keep the holes clean and free of burrs at those extreme ratios?
I think, as I said in the presentation, micromachining is all about the process. So we would define a process that produces clean holes and validate it with post-processing inspection. Laser processing is very repeatable. We also need to discuss with our customer, is this 100% inspection that you need, or do you need an AQL?
Great. And final question at the moment, with the infinite field of view system, are you limited to flat parts or can it handle curved or cylindrical components too?
So in the example shown, we were processing a nose mold, which wasn't flat. It had a quite a complex surface. So yes, it can be done.
Okay, fantastic. That's all the questions we have in at the moment, and I don't see any more popping up. So I'd like to sum up by saying thank you all for joining us today. A recording of this session will be available for download shortly. And if you'd like to get in touch, please reach out via the contact details on your screen now, or connect with us on LinkedIn, or just visit our website. And we look forward to collaborating with you on your next laser processing challenge. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.